Welcome back. Part 2 now of our look at the politics of media in post-Soviet Europe. Back in 2004, Ukraine provided the world with some high political drama when thousands took to the streets of Kiev in what became known as the Orange Revolution. They were trying to safeguard the country's young democracy and succeeded in putting their candidate, the pro-Western Viktor Yushchenko, into office. Since then, Yushchenko has been in and out of power, and the country went back to the polls September 30th in elections that featured the same candidates using new, mostly Western, media strategies. The Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi now on an election that saw all sides spinning their way to the polls.
Ukrainian politics. Glossy, media-savvy, westernized. Last month's parliamentary election pitted three political rivals against each other in a campaign that from the outside looked as smart and polished as any run from Washington, D.C. Here are the main players. President Viktor Yushchenko, a Western-oriented pro-reform politician. During the 2004 elections, Yushchenko was the victim of an almost fatal poisoning, which changed his looks from this to this. Next up, his bitter political rival and former partner in government, Viktor Yanukovych. A member of the Soviet old guard, he is pro-Kremlin and anti-Western. And thirdly, Yulia Tymoshenko, Eastern Europe's first female leader, and certainly its first leader with braids. The traditional Ukrainian hairstyle appeals to nationalists, while her glamorous looks play well with young modernizers. Tymoshenko partnered Yushchenko in the Orange Revolution of 2004. Then, after he sacked her, she became his political rival. Now, she's slated to team up with Yushchenko again in what could be Ukraine's second innings under an orange government. Together, her fairy tale looks and his poison-damaged appearance have earned them the nickname Beauty and the Beast.
They would have him with his terrible face and her, very beautiful, standing up before the crowds, and it was labeled Beauty and the Beast. And they would say, look, this is what the old guard are willing to do. This is what will happen to you if we lose. And it was a very powerful message, and it was very well presented, and it was very slick.
The Tymoshenko-Yushchenko combine seems like a media dream. Yet their success may be more the products of the dark arts of spin.
There was indeed quite a lot of PR used in this election campaign. However, this was largely intending to motivate the people to come over and vote.
But elections in Ukraine weren't always PR and propaganda productions. Here's how the trend began. Spool back 3 years to 2004 and the Orange Revolution, which overthrew the pro-Russian regime of Leonid Kuchma. Thousands of angry Ukrainians took to the streets, protesting the government's attempts to manipulate the election result. But the media-friendly campaign's televised pro-democracy rallies were not simply the product of spontaneous emotion. There was careful media planning behind them.
Well, Ukraine's revolution was really a television revolution. In fact, you could say it was revolution by television. Everything was grist to the mill. The whole operation that Tymoshenko masterminded was very media-friendly and media-led. Even the color orange was chosen because it was a bright, brash color with no bad connotations.
The media lapped it up. Tymoshenko became an international figure, even bagging the cover of Elle magazine. For the Ukrainian media, it was a time of transformation.
After the Orange Revolution, Ukrainian media have freedom of speech, which means that citizens of Ukraine can receive different points of view from different media outlets.
But the opening up of the media in Ukraine hasn't totally stripped politicians of the power to pull strings and skew the media message their way.
What we have sometimes now is some political parties pay to journalists illegally, and journalists can work only for this, only for those money.
In the 2007 election, Yanukovych, the anti-Western old guard candidate, has learned some new media tricks. He has adopted not just Western PR tactics, but also some of the people. Yanukovych turned to prominent American political consultant Paul Manafort, whose client list includes John McCain, for an image makeover.
This PR company is a well-known American company, and they were brought into Ukraine to work specifically with Mr. Yanukovych, and his image was reshaped seriously by the Americans.
And the impact of this shiny new image was clear in the election results. Yanukovych's party of the regions may not have won a majority, but it did bag the largest share of the votes. However, even the Manafort effect hasn't been enough to trump the magic of Ukraine's PR veteran, Yulia Tymoshenko.
I think she was like the best in this campaign, and she scored a lot from knowing how to deal with the media and how to use it to her advantage. One example is that she took her campaign briefly to London and met Margaret Thatcher, who is seen by many in Ukraine as somebody who helped to pull down communism. She immediately became the Iron Lady of Ukraine.
Whether Ukrainians realize it or not, everybody's spinning.
There is no this realization yet in Ukraine that there are things like spin doctors and, you know, people who sort of work full time to make those politicians electable and likable. But Ukraine is moving that way. Spin doctors are becoming increasingly important.
Between 2004 and 2007, this has been a media revolution in 2 acts. For politics in Ukraine, things will never be the same.
More Global Village Voices now and their take on the media and Ukraine.
I think the way the politicians use the media has really changed since the Orange Revolution and since the last election as well, in that now they're working with the media rather than against the media, which was the case before. They've learned to use it as a tool, and a very good tool for their PR, for their advertising campaign.
It's quite easy if you switch on a channel and watch a news program. It's quite easy to figure out whom this channel supports. The majority of media either belongs to someone, to an oligarch or a businessman, or being subsidized or financed by an oligarch.
Sticking with our East European theme, it's hard to give up old habits, and that's no different for the people who run state-funded TV. It's especially true if you've got a hankering for the old Soviet times, like Zvezda TV, which is the Russian Army's own channel. Here's a sample of what they put on the air, a road test for a brand new Russian-made Jeep. It's as at home under fire on the battlefield as it is on the occasionally mean streets of Moscow.
Машина, что называется, культовая. Полноприводный Шварценеггер Голливуда и гроза московских улиц. На войне это явный легковес.
Все это потребовало новой силовой установки. Стандартным для него считается бензиновый инжекторный двигатель мощностью 132 лошадиные силы.
А если поставить на Барс комплект скрытой защиты, то есть легкой брони, как на этот УАЗик, воевавший в Чечне, тогда он сможет выполнять и боевые задачи.
В январе 2000 года этот автомобиль, в котором в тот момент находился комендант Урус-Мартановского района генерал-майор Дробин, водитель и охранник, попал в засаду. Как позднее посчитали, автомобиль было произведено 47 пулевых попаданий, автомобиль не потерял подвижность. И жизнь 3 человек, благодаря комплекту скрытого бронирования, была сохранена.
Но роднит их одно – высокая проходимость. Качество – важнейшее для армейского автомобиля.
Finally, you may remember a few months back we showed you what happens when you put an Apple iPhone into a food blender. Part of a series of ads that have proved a hit on the World Wide Web, Will It Blend has since caused a surge in sales for the blender manufacturer. Our internet video of the week, a second helping of Will It Blend. We'll see you next time at The Listening Post.
Will it blend? That is the question.
The Will It Blend campaign has blended many other household items, from video cameras to cans of tinned meat.
And of course, what's spam without eggs? So I'm going to place a couple of nice large eggs and let's see what happens. Spam smoke. Don't breathe this. Whoa. This is a jiggly spamlet. George, spam omelet?
Oh, sure. My filter's not working.